Buongiorno a tutti e benvenuti al nostro appuntamento. Zuckerberg è un fiume in piena e sta aprendo sul periodo pandemico scenari che all'epoca erano stati paventati sì da molti, ma che il mainstream bollava sprezzantemente come tesi complottiste. Personalmente mi sono continuamente posto delle domande perché tanti erano i dubbi che i fatti non solo non avevano mai chiarito, ma addirittura avevano accentuato. E oggi vorrei riassumere le 4 domande che ho proposto più e più volte in tempo reale, non a posteriori evidentemente, come i miei 5 anni di video possono testimoniare e come i miei follower della prima ora sanno molto bene. Primo, se sono vaccinato, perché dovrei aver paura di un non vaccinato? Faccio un esempio. Io sono vaccinato contro il morbillo e la parotite. Vado o non vado a trovare in piena tranquillità un bambino che ha il morbillo o gli orecchioni? La risposta è sì, ci vado perché non ho paura di contagiarmi essendo vaccinato. Per il Covid invece questo banale sillogismo non è mai stato nemmeno preso lontanamente in considerazione, anzi è stato creato il Green Pass per limitare la vita dei non vaccinati. La domanda è perché? Secondo, i vaccini tutti sono stati ideati per creare degli anticorpi che emulino quelli naturali che si sviluppano in chi ha contagiato la malattia. Quindi per definizione un guarito vale più di un vaccinato e quindi il guarito è l'originale e il vaccinato è la copia. E vi chiedo, mi sapete dire in quale settore, qualsiasi esso sia, la copia vale più dell'originale? Nel Covid è stato così. La domanda è perché? Terzo, alle donne in gravidanza non si dà manco un'aspirina per paura di un qualsiasi possibile effetto collaterale. Inspiegabilmente, invece, gli si è somministrato il vaccino dicendo che era sicuro e non pericoloso e lo si è detto senza alcuna reale prova scientifica, semplicemente perché non c'era stato il tempo materiale per poterlo testare. Vi ricordo che la talidomide, che era un farmaco e non un vaccino, ma il discorso non cambia di una virgola, fu approvata e lanciata sul mercato nel 1954, ma si capirono i suoi drammatici effetti collaterali soltanto nei primi anni 60. La domanda è perché alle donne in gravidanza è stato fatto il vaccino? Quarto, si aveva la certezza che i giovani, bambini e ragazzi prendevano la malattia in forma molto leggera. Degli effetti collaterali del vaccino invece non si poteva sapere assolutamente nulla. Nel rispetto del primo comandamento della mia professione che dice per prima cosa non nuocere, questa categoria di persone doveva essere tassativamente esclusa dalla vaccinazione. E invece così non è stato. Sono stati vaccinati tutti i ragazzi con i danni che ora ben conosciamo. La domanda è perché? Zuckerberg ce lo sta spiegando.
COVID was the other big one where that was also very tricky. Because, at the beginning it was, it's like a legitimate public health crisis, in the beginning. And it's, even people who are like the most ardent First Amendment, defenders, the Supreme Court has this clear precedent that's like, all right, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. There are times when if there's an emergency, your ability to speak can temporarily be curtailed in order to get an emergency under control. So I was sympathetic to that. When it went from, 2 weeks to flatten the curve to, and like in the beginning it was like, okay, there aren't enough masks aren't that important, to then it's like, oh no, you have to wear a mask. And, everything was shifting around. It just became very difficult to kind of follow. And this really hit the most extreme, I'd say during the Biden administration when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And now I'm generally like pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who was basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
talk about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration. The interactions that I was just referring to, I mean, a lot of this is documented. I mean, because Jim Jordan and the House had this whole investigation and committee into the kind of government censorship around stuff like this. And we produced all these documents, and it's all in the public domain. I mean, basically, these people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse. And it's like, these documents it's all kind of out there.
Oh, did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we, but I think
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails, the emails are published. It's all kind of out there. And they're like, and basically it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous. They wanted us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you're going to see an ad that says, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible for, for this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme. And they're like, no, you have to take that down. And we just said, no, we're not going to take down humor and satire. We're not going to take down things that are true. And then at some point, I guess, I don't know, it flipped a bit. I mean, Biden, when he gave some statement at some point, I don't know if it was a press conference or to some journalists, where he basically was like, these guys are killing people. All these different agencies and branches of government basically just like started investigating and coming after our company. It was brutal. It was brutal.
Wow.
I mean, at this point, I think a lot of people look at this as like a purely political thing. It's because they kind of look at the timing and they're like, hey, well, you're doing this right after the election. It's like, okay, I try not to like change our content rules like right in the middle of an election either, right? It's like, there's not like a great time to do this. It's
right. You do have to be careful about misinformation, and you do have to be careful about just outright lies and propaganda complaints, or propaganda campaigns rather. And how do you differentiate?
Well, I think that there are a couple of different things here. One is, this is something where I think X and Twitter just did it better than us on fact checking. We took the critique around around misinformation. We put in place this fact checking program, which basically empowered these third-party fact checkers. They could mark stuff false, and then we would downrank it in the algorithm. I think what Twitter and X have done with community notes, I think is just a better program. Rather than having a small number of fact checkers, you get the whole community to weigh in. When people who usually disagree on something tend to agree on how they're voting on a note, that's a good sign to the community that there's actually like a broad consensus on this, and then you show it. And you're showing more information, not less, right? So you're not using the fact check as a signal to show less. You're using the community note to provide real context and show additional information. So I think that that's better.
In qualunque discussione ci sia, in un qualunque talk show televisivo, c'è sempre lo scemo, non so definire direttamente, che tira fuori la parola complottista, perché hai detto una cosa che non sta dentro i parametri riconosciuti come legali. Questa è un'ideologia potentissima, più potente delle precedenti, perché erano pluraliste quelle precedenti. Adesso è solo l'ideologia del potere reale, che è quello dei padroni universali.